Oh, hey look, it's the sequel video that took 9 months to make. Sorry. This time I've got another wide range of prefabs, all Metroid themed, with a heavy focus on AI enemies. Let's start with some basic stuff. If, like me, you've been annoyed by my previous store's tendency to be safe only 90% of the time, here's an improved version that uses invisible targets as triggers rather than exploding barrels. There's a couple more scripts, but it's not too bad. Not much to say here, it's just an updated version of the save station. Who knows what use you might find for this, but what the hell. Y'all remember those portals in Primus 3? Those are the same old ether portals that I showed in the last video, but this is the tunnel between them. It works in both directions, so it functionally extends the travel time between the portals. Maybe that'll be useful for something, I don't know. This was the first part of the map I built, all the way back in November or something. At one point I was considering moving it to a different canvas, so I saved it as a prefab just in case. It's just the structure, none of the fancy moving platforms or portals or anything, but it's here if you're interested. I'm not a programmer, so it took me a long time to figure out how to make this. It's a simple concept. To open the door, you just have to shoot the 4 switches in the correct order, in this case left to right. If you don't want to use the more elaborate version of this that I used in Primus 3, there's also a stripped down version that only has the bare minimum of scripts, so you can easily modify it to your liking. As you saw in Primus 3, these obviously protect you from timed kill volumes. While it would be more game accurate and user-friendly to use volumes that slowly damage the player instead of a countdown timer that you can't track once you're safe, this technique provides 2 major advantages. It doesn't use any scripts, and it lets you easily create a circular safe zone. To my knowledge, there isn't any way to create a large damaging volume with little circles of safety inside it, unless it's actually a ton of separate zones that are arranged to create vaguely circular openings between them. That might work better, but in my case I simply didn't have the luxury of having so many scripts in my Dark Age save. While I don't think you can script safe zones to spawn and despawn at will like a temporary beacon should, I managed to get around that problem. The safe zone is permanent, but it's overlapped by a damage zone that hurts you as much as a timed kill volume would. Shooting the beacon will despawn the damage zone and let you enjoy a brief respite. Though, of course, the zone will respawn in 15 seconds unless you keep shooting the beacon to restart the timer. Now let's move on to some enemies. It's not exactly revolutionary at this point, but I'm still happy I got this thing to work. Sometimes, anyway. It has 2 scripting zones, a warning zone where the alarm sounds and the light turns on, and the danger zone, where it kills you. The turret and the turret beam come separately, of course. Just put the beam inside the turret's joint, set it to normal physics, and let it rip. You might remember I tried and failed to put these in Primus 2. They work much better now. They aren't too fast, but they have gravity slides directly below them that will suck you up if you're not careful. Here's that cute little bugger from near the end of Primus 3. It's actually something Fred and I came up with months ago and basically forgot about until recently. The prop version doesn't have any scripts, but this one has the basic charge, retreat, repeat scripting that the one in Primus 3 has. And of course, you can defeat it by shooting the glowy red tail. This is a very simple little enemy. Spawn a few, put them in their sockets, and you've got yourself a laser hallway. If they decide to work, anyway, which isn't a guarantee. This little fellow is not much to look at, but if it blows up, you're in for a world of hurt as it spews poisonous gas everywhere. This was my original design for the Breed, before I went through a long and frustrating series of difficulties in making it work that eventually led to the big version. But I think the old one is still kinda cute, and it actually seems to fly a little more naturally. The random-ish flight path of these guys is thanks to a lovely little prefab by Stinger05189 called the Working Fairy. Mine is essentially just a version of it with some of the values shifted around. It comes in two varieties, a chaser, which obviously follows the player, and patrol, which just goes back and forth between 2 points. This is another prop I've been messing around with. For some reason, it doesn't want to script properly. It always leaves a few pieces behind when it moves, so it's just a prop for now. This is one of Fred's creations, not mine, but I wanted to include it in the video because it's so clever. I'm absolutely hiding one of these in all of my maps from now on. And here's everyone's favorite little weirdo, the Rezbit. I would have loved to use this in Primus 3, but a functional Rezbit requires a ton of scripts. This particular version is just the prop, of course, but I also made a version that functions properly sometimes. You seeing a pattern here? It puts up a shield that follows you when you're close and shoots you when you get too close, and then dies if you manage to shoot its core. It comes in a bunch of separate pieces, and you can try to, put it together and get it to work on your own, but I have had some difficulties getting it to work outside of Forge. Finally, time to finish a project I started a long time ago, my line of gunships. I've updated the following ones with invisible banshees and better effects as necessary, but you might have noticed that there is a certain something missing in this lineup. Oh yeah! I always thought the MP1 Gunship was impossible to recreate given its weird curves and details, and I was half right. It's not even close to the proper scale compared to the others, but at the very least it looks better than that sad old one I made for Orphan a year ago. Fair warning, this thing has a ton of pieces, uses a lot of budget, and handles like a drunken bowling ball, basically. Which is why, thankfully, I've got a landed version as well. You can even explore the inside a little bit. And that, my friends, is all for today. God only knows if I'll be making content on a regular basis again, but more stuff is definitely in the works. Ciao!